Welcome to Chapter 4, where we learn about how to insert an ethical code in the heart of your business. Later this semester, we will examine in depth how to write a good ethical code. At this stage, though, we want to look at the basics of how to build an ethical code. In an earlier lesson, we looked at how difficult it is to create a consensus on what is right or wrong. In this lesson, we look at the three categories that are required of any ethical program framework. We will look at the details that go into that framework later. Trust allows businesses to depend upon one another as they make transactions or exchange value. Ethics creates the foundational trust between two parties in a transaction. Many people must trust and be trusted to make business work properly. There are three categories that you must consider when evaluating a company's ethical stance. These three are legal, what does the law require? Voluntary, what are the company's internal controls, procedures, accountability? And core practices, what is expected of your employees? And how well do they understand what is expected and are able to perform at that level? Let's look into each of these in detail. Legally mandated. Start with what is legally required. This is the base level, following the law. Legally mandated is the external controls that everyone in your type of business has to follow. What are external controls? Laws, rules, regulations. The legally mandated items are externally imposed boundaries of conduct. There are three main categories of laws: laws protecting competition, laws protecting consumers, laws that promote equity and safety. You are probably already familiar with several of these laws. Do not memorize any of these laws. If you're going to be a corporate lawyer, you will get plenty of opportunity to learn about the laws applicable to your industry. What is important in this section is to understand the types of things being protected and the time frames the laws were enacted within. What are we protecting? That is what we value. Think about that as you read through the titles of the laws in this section. When was that law enacted? Pay attention to the dates, not because you need to memorize them, but because you need to understand what else was happening in society to enable that law to be passed at that time. Any practice is permitted that does not substantially lessen or reduce competition or harm consumers or society. That is the legally allowed behavior definition from your textbook. Courts differ widely in what substantially means. Some businesses, as well as some people, cannot be trusted to do the right thing. Laws and regulations have been created to set a minimum standard for responsible behavior. This changes over time. The law clearly isn't enough. Otherwise, we would not have fraud cases or sexual harassment allegations or racial discrimination issues, etc. Society needs to change in order for laws to be followed and punishments enforced for breaking the law. Now we move on to the second category of a good ethical program, your internal controls. These are the voluntary practices that your business adheres to. They are made up of beliefs, right, wrong, values, what do we stand for, voluntary practices, your code of conduct, and voluntary contractual obligations. More on building, implementing, and auditing voluntary programs later this semester. Chapters 8 and 9 focus on this area. Your board of directors have an additional set of ethical duties. Duty of care, to act in the firm's best interest. Duty of good faith, faithful to the organization's mission. Duty of loyalty, conflicts of interest must be resolved in the organization's favor. Now we cover the third category of a good ethics program, core practice. This is your code of ethics policy, what is expected of your employees. A good code of ethics helps ensure compliance with legal requirements, industry self-regulation, and societal expectations. Where do we see this on the job? Performance measures, voluntary responsibilities, cause-related marketing, strategic philanthropy, and social entrepreneurship. Why is this important? A good code of ethics helps to create a solid ethical culture. Ensure policies are clearly understood. Misunderstood core practices provides ample opportunity for unethical conduct. And stakeholders want and expect the companies they deal with to be ethical. A good ethics program is important for many reasons. In this chapter, you learned some of the laws and regulations that guide businesses in creating solid ethics programs.